Hi, welcome back for another 5 Caillou challenge called 1's, 0's, and Wildcards. You are given a string containing 0's, 1's, and one or more question mark, where question mark is a wild card that can be 0 or 1. Return an array containing all the possibilities you can reach, substituting the question mark for a value. See the examples. 1, 0, 1 question mark has two possibilities for finishing. You can have the 1, 0, 1 that you started with, and then the question mark could either turn into a 0 or 1, 0, 1, and the question mark turns into a 1. You can see how this expands as you have multiple question marks. 1 question mark goes to 1, 0, 1, 0, right? They could both be 0, they could both be 1, or one could be a 1 and the other could be a 0, and that can happen in either order. So I think that gives the idea here. Don't worry about sorting the output, and your string will never be empty. You could certainly error check that if you wanted to play this like a real life task, but you will be safe to make those assumptions if you don't want to. They're good to be aware of though, right? So go ahead and pause this, have a go at it, come on back when you're ready, and I will get started on my solution. So I'm going to make a list of type string for the result. I'll call it result, and we will instantiate this. There we go. So it's ready for use. Now my idea, sort of the algorithm that I'm going to use here, I'm going to go over each character in the input, as you can imagine. And as I do that, I'm going to start from the left, and I'm going to encounter a character. And basically what I'll do is, in my result here, I'll start building up the full length results in this list here. So to start, let's say I had a 1, I would just populate my list with the string 1. And then I would come to the second character, I'd see it's a 0. So what I'd do when I have the 0 is I'd go back, I'd check in my list, I'd see it only has one entry, it was that string 1, and I would add a 0 to it. And so now I'd have 1, 0. And then I repeat, I get a 1, I see I have a 1, 0 in my results, I add a 1 to it, I'm now at 1, 0, 1. And then finally I get to the last character, it's a question mark, right? So for the 1, 0, 1 that's in my list, now I'm going to make an entry in result that's 1, 0, 1 with a 0 and 1, 0, 1 with a 1. So hopefully you followed that. If not, I think it'll be clear once I start coding this out. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's make a for loop to go over the characters in the string. So I is less than input dot length and plus plus I. Good. And now let's grab the character in question. I'll call it CH like I commonly do. And this is, of course, is just going to grab the current character at any step through my for loop here, right? And we can do a couple things. I can say if CH is equal to a 0 or a 1, that's one case, right? It's sort of a fixed value. It's not a wildcard value, so we'll handle that one way. And then the idea is that else we're dealing with a wildcard, and we'll handle that a different way, because obviously they need to be treated differently, right? So let's cover the case where our list is currently empty. So I'll say if result.count, remember list is different than arrays. You use this property count to check its size. It's really unfortunate that they weren't consistent with that. If result count equals 0, meaning it's empty, then what we're going to do is just add the character in question, right? So I'll say ch, and I'll make it a string, right? We can't add a character to a list of strings. So this is just like that first step, right? List is empty, result is empty. We hit the first character, it's a 1. So we get to this point, we check, and result's still empty, so we just add the 1. So now list has a string with just the value 1. That's the idea there. And then the other idea is that if the list is not empty, what we need to do is we need to concatenate or append this current character, whether it's a 0 or 1, on the end of every item in our list, right? So we can use some link for that. We can say result, and I'm just going to overwrite it. I'm going to say result select, and each item in result is a string. They represent binary numbers, so I'll just call it binary. Feel free to use whatever variable name you like, and I'll just say take whatever value it currently has and just add the character, whether it's a 0 or 1, to it. And C# is smart enough, it's already been implemented to know how to combine a character with a string, just like if you combine an integer with a string, it knows how to handle that. In case you're wondering why I was able to get away with that. Okay, so that covers the case where we have a fixed value, but now we have a wildcard, and it's going to be a lot the same as this. It's just a little different, as you can imagine. So that's good. We'll get into the, one thing though that I forgot. Remember, we know that select is a link method and they return an IEnumerable. And so you may have, hopefully you caught that and said, hey, you can't assign an IEnumerable to a list, but at 5 Caillou, you probably know I can make that to a list. So that'll cover me there. Good, now let's get to our wildcard case. I'll do the same kind of thing. I'll say if result count equals 0. So what would this mean? If we have a wildcard and results empty, it would be like an example. Imagine the very first character is a question mark. So what should we do then? Well, we should add both a 0 and a 1, right? For a wildcard. So we could say result add the string 0 and result add the string 1 to start. Good. And then otherwise, if we already have entries in there, we can do the same kind of thing as before, but the difference now is that we have to add a 0 to all entries, and then we have to add a 1 to all entries to get all the possibilities, right? So what we could do is we could say var, I'll just call it add 0, and we could say that equals result select, I'll use binary again, and we'll say binary plus 0, and we could do the same thing, var add 1, which could be result select binary, where you use what it currently is and just add a 1 to the end, right? We cover both possibilities with a wildcard. And then finally, we can update our result to equal add 0, concat, remember this? Add 1. So we're just combining all, it's like when you plus equals to a string or a string plus some other string, right? You're just concatenating them. You're sort of combining these collections into one big collection, and they're IEnumerables because we're using the select method, and that's what it returns. I didn't type that out. I took advantage of the convenient syntax here where I can just say var and it figures out the type for us. And then, of course, again, concat's not going to give us what we want, so we should probably put this to a list as well to jive with result. And so finally, I think we've handled all of our cases there. Should have done this sooner. I'm going to remember this one of these times, I swear. So yeah, that's the end of our for loop. At the end, we can return result. And I think, unless I type something stupid, which I'll find out very soon here. But hopefully this, you see my algorithm a little more clearly with the code here too. I'll go ahead and run a test. Oh, I already know one thing I forgot to do. We called link methods without bringing in link, right? That select. And then what else do we have here? The operator or cannot be applied to operands of type bool and char. So what did I do there? Oh yeah, big no-no. Big no-no. This is rookie mistake stuff. Don't do that. Char equal, I have to say character equals that. I can't just say the values. So hopefully you caught that too, but that's okay if you didn't. Good, green. I'll hit it again, the larger suite, and we are cleared for takeoff. So yeah, I'm not going to do anything else. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of variation in answers here, but hopefully you can see what I did. I had a result. It's empty. We've got two cases, right? We're either dealing with a fixed value or it's a wildcard. And again, you could criticize my design here. I didn't error check, right? Else would cover any character. What if they gave us the letter F, you know? The challenge didn't, but in real life, you'd probably want to specifically look for the question mark for this case and then maybe throw an exception if it were none of these cases. But anyway, yeah, if the result's empty, simply add the character. You know, you need something to start with. In the case of a wildcard, you not only do the character, the fixed character you encountered, but you have to do both 0 and 1 because wildcard could be either. And then finally, once you have items in your result, the idea is that you're just constantly updating it to add a second character or a third character. You're just adding one new character to whatever size values are in there currently until you get to the end of the input word size, right? And so, yeah, we're taking all of those current results and we're adding a 0 to each of them. And then we're taking all of those current results and adding a 1 to each of them. And then finally, we're saying, hey, we need all these values in one collection and make it into a list because this is a list. And so hopefully you can see as this goes through, it builds up all the answers we need and then we just return it. So that's the down and dirty there. I'll go ahead and submit mine. Uh-oh. Didn't mean to do that. Good. Go ahead and submit. Grab those points and yeah. So yeah, I thought about doing something recursive with this. It was very much set up that way. So looks like that was a popular approach here to use some recursion. Oh, interesting. Permute, select many. Cool. So yeah, there's some stuff to chew on here. Good look at these. And yeah, I'll let you do the same. Hit me up with questions and comments. Keep the likes and subs coming. Thank you very much. We'll grow this channel. We'll teach everybody, right? Otherwise, I will see you in another video. Thanks for watching.